Let's be honest, folks. The world of politics can feel like a broken carousel. Same tired horses, same dizzying cycle, and no matter how hard you try to avoid it, you always seem to end up back where you started, covered in existential dread and cotton candy residue. But what if I told you there's a new ride in town? One that actually wants you, the passenger, to choose the direction. Buckle up, because that's the ambitious promise of the referendum party. These fine folks, and I use folks very loosely because, let's be honest, who even knows what they are, have decided that the best way to govern is by, well, actually asking the governed what they want. Radical, I know. It's like they stumbled upon this revolutionary idea that instead of politicians bickering behind closed doors, maybe, just maybe, the people who eat, sleep and breathe the consequences should have a say. We're talking about tackling issues big and small, from the potholes plaguing your morning commute to the existential threat of climate change. Because, and here's a hot take, your vote on a local park cleanup should matter just as much as your vote on international trade agreements. It's all connected, people.
Chapter 4. Technological Innovation, boldly going where no politician has gone before. Let's face it, the future is here, and it's wearing a Fitbit and live tweeting your every move. Technology is evolving at a pace that would make even the most tech-savvy politicians' head spin. But while other parties are busy trying to figure out how to use Twitter without becoming a meme, the referendum party is embracing the digital age with open arms. They understand that to thrive in the 21st century, we need to be at the forefront of technological innovation. We're talking about investing in STEM education, fostering tech startups, and creating an environment where innovation isn't just encouraged, it's celebrated. Think Silicon Valley, but with less venture capitalist and more, well, you get to vote on that. It's time to harness the power of technology to address the challenges of our time. From climate change to healthcare, to ensuring that your self-driving car doesn't accidentally end up in a ditch. Chapter 5. National Security, Sleeping Soundly in a World Gone Mad. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room wearing camouflage and carrying a really big stick, national security. We live in a complex world facing complex threats, from terrorism to cyber attacks to that weird rash that just won't go away. Probably nothing to worry about, but still. But the referendum party believes that true security comes not just from military might, but from a multifaceted approach that addresses the root causes of conflict. We're talking about strengthening our military, yes, but also investing in diplomacy, promoting global cooperation, and tackling issues like poverty and inequality that can breed instability. It's about creating a world where everyone feels safe and secure, not just those lucky enough to live within heavily fortified borders. It's time to ditch the Cold War playbook and embrace a more nuanced, human-centered approach to security. You know, the kind that doesn't involve constantly looking over our shoulders or investing in a bunker made of tinfoil hats. Chapter 6. Cultural Integration. Can't we all just get along, at least online? Now let's address the elephant in the room wearing a rainbow flag and blasting K-pop, cultural integration. We live in a world of breathtaking diversity, a kaleidoscope of cultures, beliefs, and identities. But sometimes, that kaleidoscope can feel a bit more like a broken disco ball, with sharp edges and a tendency to cause headaches. The referendum party, however, sees this diversity as a strength, something to be celebrated, not feared. They believe in fostering understanding and respect between different cultural groups, promoting tolerance, and creating a society where everyone feels a sense of belonging. It's about breaking down barriers, building bridges, and maybe, just maybe, learning to appreciate each other's taste in music. Except for you, Dave. Nobody needs to hear that polka rendition of Baby Got Back ever again. It's time to ditch the us versus them mentality and embrace a more inclusive, harmonious future.
Okay, buckle up, because we're about to delve into the thrilling world of interstate commerce. Yes, it might not sound as sexy as, say, international espionage or competitive hot dog eating, but believe me, this is one area where the referendum party really shines. They see those state lines not as barriers, but as bridges, opportunities to foster economic growth and cooperation. We're talking about streamlining regulations, reducing bureaucratic red tape, and creating a level playing field for businesses of all sizes. Imagine a world where shipping goods across state lines doesn't require navigating a labyrinthine maze of permits and fees. It's about unleashing the full potential of the American economy, one state at a time. So, the next time you enjoy a craft beer brewed in a different state, or buy a handmade sweater knitted by artisans across the country, thank the referendum party for making it all possible. Unless you're allergic to wool, then maybe blame the sheep. Alright folks, let's talk about the big leagues, federal legislation. This is where the sausage gets made, or in this case, where the laws that govern our nation are crafted. And let's be honest, the current legislative process often resembles a sausage factory that's been left out in the sun a little too long. The referendum party, however, believes in a more transparent, participatory approach to lawmaking. They want to empower citizens to have a direct say in the laws that affect their lives. We're talking about online platforms for proposing and debating legislation, citizen-led initiatives, and a system that prioritizes the needs of the many over the interests of the few. It's about restoring faith in our democracy, one law at a time. Because, let's face it, the only thing more terrifying than the current state of politics is the thought of living in a world where Schoolhouse Rock is no longer considered educational entertainment, but a chilling dystopian warning. Now, let's talk about the big blue, slightly overheating elephant in the room, the environment. Climate change is real, folks, and it's not going away just because some politicians choose to ignore it. The good news is, the referendum party doesn't need a scientific consensus to tell them what's right in front of their faces. They're all about protecting our planet for future generations. And they're not afraid to use the power of referenda to do it. We're talking about investing in renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and protecting our natural resources. Think of it as a giant group hug for Mother Earth, but instead of awkward backpatting, we're voting for policies that actually make a difference. It's time to ditch the fossil fuels, embrace sustainability, and ensure that future generations inherit a planet that's not on fire. Or at least one that's slightly less on fire than the one we're currently on track to leave them.
All right, folks, let's talk about the elephant in the room wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase, and speaking fluent Mandarin. Global trade. We live in an interconnected world, a global village where goods and services flow freely across borders. But sometimes that flow can feel a bit more like a tsunami, washing away local businesses and leaving behind a trail of economic devastation. The referendum party, however, believes in a more equitable approach to global trade. They want to ensure that trade agreements benefit everyone, not just multinational corporations and their shareholders. We're talking about fair labor standards, environmental protections, and a system that prioritizes the needs of workers and communities over corporate profits. It's about creating a world where trade uplifts everyone, not just those at the top of the economic food chain. So the next time you buy a t-shirt that wasn't made in a sweatshop or enjoy a cup of fair trade coffee, thank the referendum party for fighting for a more just and equitable global economy. All right, folks, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the elephant in the room wearing a beret, sipping espresso, and speaking with a vaguely European accent: continental security. We live in a world where threats transcend borders, where a crisis in one country can quickly spill over into others. The referendum party understands that in this interconnected world, security is not a solo act, but a collaborative effort. They believe in strengthening alliances, promoting dialogue, and working together to address common threats. Think of it as a neighborhood watch, but instead of gossiping about who stole whose garden gnome, we're tackling issues like terrorism, cybercrime, and the spread of infectious diseases. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, and that by working together, we can create a safer, more secure world for everyone. Except maybe for that one neighbor who insists on playing polka music at 3 a.m. Some things even continental security can't fix. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room wearing tattered clothes, struggling to feed its family, and wondering why the heck it's stuck in this metaphorical room in the first place. Socioeconomic inequality. We live in a world where the gap between the rich and poor is wider than ever, where access to education, healthcare, and opportunity often depends on the lottery of birth. The referendum party believes that this is not just morally wrong, but economically unsustainable. They're all about creating a more just and equitable society, one where everyone has the chance to succeed, regardless of their background. We're talking about investing in education, expanding access to healthcare, and creating opportunities for all. It's about recognizing that a rising tide should lift all boats, not just the yachts of the wealthy. So, the next time you see someone struggling, remember that their fight is our fight, and that by working together, we can create a world where everyone has the chance to thrive.
All right, folks, let's talk about the elephant in the room wearing a powdered wig, carrying a gavel, and speaking in legalese, international law. We live in a world of nation-states, each with its own interests and ambitions. But in this globalized world, it's more important than ever that we have a set of rules that everyone plays by. The Referendum Party believes in the power of international law to resolve disputes peacefully, protect human rights, and promote cooperation. They're all about upholding international treaties, strengthening international institutions, and holding countries accountable for their actions. Think of it as the UN, but with less bureaucracy and more actual action. It's about creating a world where might doesn't make right, where disputes are settled through diplomacy, not warfare, and where everyone is held accountable to the same standards of behavior. Because let's face it, the only thing scarier than a world without rules is a world where the rules only apply to some and not to others. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room wearing a hazmat suit, carrying a microscope and looking suspiciously like a bat global health. We live in a world where diseases can spread faster than ever before, where a virus outbreak in one corner of the globe can quickly become a global pandemic. The Referendum Party understands that in this interconnected world, our health is inextricably linked. They believe in strengthening global health systems, investing in research and development, and working together to prevent and respond to health emergencies. Think of it as a global immune system, working to protect us all from the threat of infectious diseases. It's about recognizing that an outbreak anywhere is a threat to health everywhere, and that by working together, we can create a healthier, safer world for everyone. Except maybe for the bats. They can stay in their caves. And finally, folks, let's talk about the biggest, hottest elephant in the room: climate change. This isn't just an environmental issue. It's an economic issue, a security issue, a humanitarian issue. It's the defining challenge of our time, and it's time we start treating it like one. The Referendum Party understands the urgency of this crisis, and they're not afraid to take bold action. They believe in transitioning to a clean energy economy, investing in climate resilience, and working with other countries to reduce global emissions. Think of it as a global mobilization, a collective effort to save our planet from the brink of disaster. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, and that by working together, we can create a sustainable future for generations to come. Because let's face it, there's no planet B. Unless Elon Musk has something up his sleeve. In which case, please, Elon, tell us you've got this.
So, there you have it, folks. The Referendum Party's grand vision for a better future. It's ambitious, it's bold, and it's a little bit terrifying, like trying a new food that might be delicious or might make you question your life choices. But one thing's for sure, it's a refreshing change from the same old, same old. The Referendum Party is putting the power back in the hands of the people where it belongs. They're saying, hey, you, yeah, you, the one watching this video, you have a voice, you have a choice, and you have the power to shape the future. They're recognizing that the challenges we face are interconnected, that what happens at the local level affects the global, and vice versa. And they're offering a new way forward, a way that prioritizes people over politics, collaboration over conflict, and action over apathy. It's a vision that's both inspiring and daunting. But one thing's for sure, it's a vision worth fighting for. So the next time you're feeling disillusioned with politics as usual, remember the Referendum Party. Remember that there is an alternative, a way to make your voice heard, a way to take back control of your future. The future is in your hands, folks, and on your ballot. Don't let it go to waste. The Referendum Party's proposals for referenda reflect a comprehensive approach to governance that recognizes the interconnectedness of local, state, federal, continental, and global issues. By addressing subjects across these levels, the party aims to create a cohesive and unified framework for tackling the challenges of the 21st century.